Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for One Piece Season 16. This one having the arcs of Punk Hazard and the Caesar Retrieval arc at the end, which is like 3 episodes. But it's mainly the bulk of Punk Hazard, with collections 24, 25, and into 26. And holy fucking shit. This was a hell of an arc. The Caesar Retrieval arc pretty much is like on the butt of it, and I consider it pretty much the same one, as well as the Wikipedia, which pretty much puts this at 50 episodes. The next one, Dressrosa, is going to be long, and I will probably chop that one in half. There was only some kind of crossover one that was not in the home video release, so it deals with other kind of stuff that doesn't really affect it, so but it was kind of crazy. I'm like, alright, Fishman Island, we had Horty Jones, we had all that different kind of shit. It's like, we're probably gonna have at least a little bit more of a kind of come down arc, right? Fuck no. Hell no. It's like, alright, we've got underworld scientists, children that have been kidnapped and experimented on. We are on the island that is connected with Vegapunk, and that evidently where Aokiji and Akainu fought. We get interesting stuff on devil fruits and artificial devil fruits, and linking up an understanding of Doflamingo, the Emperors, what Law's kind of getting into, Trafalgar Law. A lot of shit goes on here, and I think they put up a nice kind of fight for our crew that their 2 years of training has helped them. They are stronger, but they've got to deal with some kind of crazy ass shit. The whole body swapping thing, I'm like, oh my god. I mean, it did put some interesting kind of stuff into it, and at least it didn't go to the same kind of route of like beating the dead horse of like Sanji's kind of whole bit with the nosebleed. He just acted his same pervy self as he was in Nami's body, and it's like, okay. Now, overall, I really enjoyed this arc and this season, and think of it as like one of my favorites. There are only some weird things that popped up. Just inconsistencies in the anime, like Luffy took off his glove to like do third gear, but then his hand, as it's blown up, has the glove on it. There's like a part with Tashigi and Smoker where they like started with a sword and somehow went back to Smoker's bar. Sanji was in Nami's body, was diving into a certain kind of thing without shoes and then came back with them on. And let me see. Doflamingo, I did not bring up in Marineford that Doflamingo was linked up with like taking out Gecko Moria, so we'll kind of see how that kind of works out. Now, even though those things are there, it didn't really affect my overall enjoyment of this. As we see them get through, we do see the stuff with like Z's ambition pretty much still referenced, but they come upon this island because Luffy's like, yeah, let's go for this kind of crazy ass one. And we get there and we see like the sea's on fire and everything. Is like, what the fuck's going on? So Luffy, Robin, Usopp, and Zoro decide to go over. They get their lunches. Usopp's like, what the fuck's going on here? They go over on the Mini Mary 2, which becomes a plot point that Frankie does recollect the Mini Mary 2 because of everything going on. And they kind of shift on over. They're exploring everything, and then they get beset upon with a dragon, and the lower half of a samurai is on it and talking, and you find out it's talking through farts, which is kind of weird. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? And the thing is, Luffy and the gang are able to beat the dragon and eat the dragon, and it's kind of funny because it's like, you gotta watch out for Vegapunk's dragons, man! Those things are fucking gnarly as shit! Luffy's crew fought one and ate it. I mean, granted, when you start saying stuff like that, their crew sounds messed up as fucking shit and monstrous of like, yeah. But it's like, that's just where they've gotten to the point where they will fight a fucking dragon. And then Luffy gets fucking stuck on the samurai's legs, so he's kind of doing a centaur thing. That was kind of funny, and then gets linked up with these others because they'd gotten a distress call that was talking about a samurai killing people, and then it's cold. It's like, it's kind of weird because everything here's on fucking fire and new stuff. Like, what the fuck? And then he sees this like bird woman. It's like, what the shit's going on here? So the Thousand Sunny pretty much goes around. They kind of find a harbor kind of place that they get beset upon, and Nami, Sanji, Frankie, and Chopper get kidnapped. Everybody except Brooke gets kidnapped, and they thought that their crew had like killed Brooke. So like, what the fuck's with the skeletons? Like, what the fuck's going on with this place? And they then kind of break out. They see the head of this samurai, and he's Kinemon. They pretty much make this whole kind of spiel of him being put back together, but the thing is he was kind of chopped up into pieces, and like, what the fuck's kind of going on with this shit? Frankie blasts out, and they pretty much pretty much like Danny DeVito. I just started blasting, and it's like, boom, and they're pretty much going through. But the thing is, they then start seeing these kids. It's like, what the fuck is up with these kids? And they want to go home and everything. And holy shit, this kid shit, it gets gnarly as fuck. And like, they do not shy away. I do like the balancing of what they're able to do with everything going on with characters, and how this is a horrible thing, and they handle it as delicately as possible. Like, they just keep amping shit up. This put it on, like, granted, I've been liking and enjoying the series so far, but this has pretty much started cementing it to the point of going over Game of Thrones for me. Like, Game of Thrones, you had world building and all that kind of stuff that was balanced with characters when it's good and when it's working. However, I do think that we have a better shot of this one having a definitive ending than Game of Thrones ever will. I mean, we got one in the form of the TV show, but it's like, alright. But the ability to interweave everything and putting our characters in this situation as they're running through it, and then Nami being like, no, we're going to help these kids, is Sanji and Sanji and Frankie pretty much stay back to like fight these weird kind of people, and they're trying to kind of get them through. But we learn that this isn't the complete kind of this isn't going to be a great kind of rescue scenario of what's going on. And we see that Trafalgar Law's there. We learned that he is now a warlord, that he delivered 100 hearts to the world government of pirates to obtain this, and that he's working with Caesar Clown, who is someone that worked under Vegapunk, and that he pretty much initiated this like Doomsday Island killer thing on the island 4 years previously, and has been pretty much working underground ever since, working on trying to perfect his Land of the Dead, or Land of Death, island killing thing, because the thing is that that one didn't work out so well because it just actually paralyzed these people, and he wants it to kill them. Now, granted, there's a little bit of fudging with certain kind of things because Kinemon kind of gets fucked over by this thing at some point, and there's like, yeah, they're just petrified at this point, but if we get to them within 12 hours, we can make sure that they live. It's like, okay, I will hand wave that because, granted, Caesar has different kind of ways to do these kind of things, so you might consider this more of an experiment. Because I know I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but it's kind of starts building with the momentum, because when Nami and the rest are trying to escape, they run into Law, they run into the G5, which is run by Smoker and Tashigi, which, incidentally enough, the G5 kind of reminds me of essentially just more of a pirate-like crew under the Marines, which gave a kind of interesting kind of thing, and that works off more when you see Vergo, one of the base commanders for G5, and understanding that, as we learn in this season, he is actually an undercover pirate working for Joker / Doflamingo for his underground stuff. And Caesar Clown, he is a good character and a good villain. I fucking hate him, though. He is an asshole. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. He just wants to do his own superiority. He's been experimenting on these kids to attempt to make them into giants or giant soldiers, thereby shortening their lifespan. We get that from, God damn, I'm completely blanking on his name. Momoshiki? Kinemon's son. Momonosuke, sorry. Momoshiki, why the fuck was I doing that? But we learned that Law was the one that pretty much fucked over the samurai, and that he's trying to do all these kind of things, and we get this whole kind of spiel with, like, hearts and everything, because he takes Smoker's heart. He gave Caesar his heart, who he gave to Virgo, and he switched it with Monet's heart, which becomes important because Caesar thinks he's killing Smoker at a certain point, but he actually kills Monet and stops her from pretty much blowing up the island. There's a lot of shit that happens here. I'm trying to get all the pertinent kind of stuff. So, Caesar's fucking over these kids who have just a couple of years to live. And we also learned that he's also addicted to the drugs. Like, once I got into that, like, I don't like the world government because they pretty much murdered women, children, anybody that can't defend themselves with, like, Ohara. This fucker pretty, like, is torturing these kids and using them in experiments and addicting them to drugs. It's horrendous. And then seeing everything that kind of ensues from that as they start having physical withdrawals from these drugs and everything, and it pissing off Chopper so much. I'm like, I get you, Chopper. I almost wanted Chopper to be the one to actually have that kind of final kind of battle with Caesar. Kind of scientist to scientist, doctor to this kind of dude. Now granted, Luffy's completely and utterly pissed off at this dude as well as Momoshiki. Not Momoshiki. Why the fuck am I going Momoshiki? Momonosuke. I've even got him now talking in my head, shouting it, because Kinemon shouts that shit like ain't nobody's business. He can also slash fire, by the way, Kinemon. And the thing is, we then also get introduced to the artificial devil fruits, because Luffy's fighting Caesar, but pretty much gets into a position where he can't really, like, Caesar escapes and Monet pretty much is locking him down with her snow fruit powers, but he gets, like, thrown into the trash chute and links up with Momonosuke, and he's in a dragon form. He, like, wasn't eating any of the food because he's like, I'm in a strange place. I don't know what they're fucking doing. Which is kind of a double-edged sword. But then he finds this artificial devil fruit that gives him the ability to turn into a dragon. And he also has the ability to kind of fly, but he doesn't understand it, and he's having freak-out moments. That, I think, we get more introduced into in the Dressrosa, because I think it's tied more to Doflamingo. Don't completely quote me on that. And granted, I'm going, like, if you've already gotten to that point, I'll get there. I'm already I'm pretty deep into Dressrosa. We'll kind of see how that kind of goes, but, like, I'm looking forward to it. But there's a lot of stuff going on as we see our heroes trying to deal with everything. We had to deal with the whole kind of heart switching that Law did for some fucked up reason. But then everybody gets their stuff switched back. We see that he makes an alliance with Luffy because he wants to take out the Emperors. Specifically Kaido, King of the Beasts. And it's like, okay, we'll have to see how that kind of goes. Now granted, I'm familiar with Kaido's name, but it's kind of cool to, like, link this stuff up. And Law wants to kind of shake some shit. Status Quo isn't doing kind of stuff, what it should be doing, or he's not happy with it and wants to kind of see what goes on. Luffy's like, I don't care, challenge, cool. Now he's like, what the fuck? How are we going to kill an emperor? He's like, I was going to take them all out anyway, and as long as it's not Shanks first, I'm cool with it. It's like, yes, Luffy. Yes. We also had, like, Yeti assassins, which I thought was a cool concept. I wish they'd done more with it. However, that would have probably lengthened this out to a degree that would have gone even kind of weirder. And I kind of wanted them to focus more on Caesar, which was the cool kind of bit that I wanted him to. And then we get this whole thing with this fucking sludgy smiley monster thing, which has this kind of lizard kind of form. I'm gonna, like, butcher that. But we find out that it actually had a devil fruit, and Caesar pretty much initiates it to turn into the land of the dead, which is this gas that's supposed to kill everything. And as we see it die, we see that, like, a devil fruit pops up with these apples, tying us into that if a devil fruit user dies, their power then gets reborn into the world. Now granted, we don't know exactly time frame wise how this works, because I'm not saying that the author doesn't know exactly what they're doing. No, that's not the thing. There's probably certain specific things. This Oda knows what he's doing, because everything seems meticulously planned out. Now, granted, this thing died pretty fast, and then its devil fruit kind of popped up. Mainly, I guess, because there's a fruit close enough for that. I don't know how that kind of translates out, because Whitebeard dying should have kind of shacked the tremor fruit. There could have been some other kind of thing that, like, since Blackbeard had the, like, dark fruit and is able to, like, suck things in, he might have been able to work fast enough to suck it back towards him, because later on we see other devil fruit users' powers, mainly in Dressrosa, that becomes an important kind of plot point. So I love that we get this here, see this happen, and then we see stuff coming in later on about what kind of goes on with this. Is like, ooh, cool. And it doesn't seem like an important bit here, but it becomes important later on, which I love that shit. So, the island's kind of going nutty. We see that the world government's trying to be like, what the fuck's kind of going on with this shit? We see that Aokiji does, of course, pop up mainly towards the end of what's going on, but we see the island overrun. We see Virago pretty much trying to take out his G5 people. Seeing him introduced was kind of weird because he had like half of a fucking hamburger steak on his fucking face, and it's like, what's going on here? Because evidently he's a sloppy eater. However, we'll have to see if he comes back, because Law has to deal with him. We got Law and Smoker dealing with him. Sanji did a little bit of a fight with him, and this dude is really good at using armament hockey. I mean, he was able to, like, fuck around with some shit with Sanji, and Sanji's like, I do not really want to fuck with this dude. Sanji then links up with pretty much the G5 people as they're running around. Kinemon's freaking out because he thinks that he killed his son because one of the children tells him that Momonosuke turned into a dragon, and he's like, that's how he pretty much becomes the kind of petrified statue from the land of the dead. They're running around trying to look for sea prism stones, because one of the conditions of working with Law under this alliance is to capture Caesar. He's trying to pretty much force Doflamingo Joker into a kind of certain kind of spot to keep this kind of plan going. Law is a more kind of thoughtful kind of person. He really tries to think stuff out, so him teaming up with Luffy is kind of best case, worst case kind of scenario. I would be more in Law's kind of shoes of like, I like to think things out and everything. Luffy's like, fuck this shit, I'm going out. Hambo, Rambo, balls deep, 100%, you ain't gonna fucking stop me kind of shit. And Law's just like, I'm gonna have to clean up his messes, aren't I? And now granted, that also then has a positive as well. If Law kind of gets fucked over, that motherfucking Straw Hat's gonna come busting in, ain't nobody's business to try and help your ass out. So, I don't know, say if you got like captured by, I don't know, one of the emperors or whatnot, he's coming for your ass. No matter what, he's coming to get you. Alright, hit the main most important points. So we get Caesar pretty much absorbing the land of the dead, because they're pretty much stymieing all of his stuff. We see that Mocha, one of the children, God, this was fucking horrendous, because Caesar had pretty much recaptured the children. We see Brownbeard back again, because Law had evidently helped most of the pirates or whatnot and the prisoners that had been affected by the gas the first time, and switched out their legs for other kind of things. That's where you get the whole kind of centaur bit. But like, he's getting stymied at all and every kind of point. He gets the children back, and yes, because Brownbeard's popped up, I'm like, that kind of asshole? Interesting. Seeing that, like, he has pretty much got this kind of cult worship, he's giving the children more candy, but Mocha, in one of the most affecting scenes, eats all the candy and pretty much suffers vast, horrible things happening to her, coughing up blood and everything, as she's trying to keep her friends from eating the candy. She kind of broke through, but Chopper was also able to give her sedatives, and he's just fucking just heartbroken, and he is able to help her out and get her to throw it up and to be a little bit better, and they do help the children out eventually. It's just, that was horrible. I knew where it was going, but even just seeing it in action was just, oh, they really were able to kind of hit on all that kind of stuff going on in here. And the thing is, we see that, let me see, Vegapunk is the, Momonosuke ate the Vegapunk one, but we also know that Caesar is important to Joker Doflamingo because he's able to produce SAD, which is able to go to this smile factory and produce artificial devil fruits, mainly of the Zoan type. Zoan? Yes. For animals and everything, and that Doflamingo has been supplying Kaido with these to create an army. why he's the king of the beasts. So Law is attempting to pretty much force a kind of thing into taking out the supply lines of Kaido for these men. That's why he wants to capture Caesar and do this kind of bit. And it just gets kind of gnarly as he's pretty much trying to destroy the SAD thing. He succeeds. He's able to get his heart back, and he also gives Smoker's heart back as well. And able to defeat Vertigo and get that whole situation knocked out. Caesar, of course, is trying to pretty much utilize everyone to his own advantage and absorbs Land of the Dead into himself, but Luffy is able to do his Grizzly Magnum hit and just like punches him throughout like this door pretty much to this tanker. And Doflamingo sends Baby 5, who is this kind of crazy woman that essentially thinks like accepts almost like any kind of proposal and can turn into a weapon. Her and this Buffalo dude fight Frankie. Frankie kind of gets knocked down, but not severely like beat, and they attempt to take Caesar away, but Law and the rest are able to bust through. I do like that Nami had some cool important bits, pretty much trying to help the children and then utilizing her wind powers to break through Land of the Dead as it was blocking the tunnel and getting everything there. And then even the G5 people kind of helping out and having a nice kind of party while it's like, yeah, we can't really do this. We kind of have to go, but still, it's kind of important. And it was kind of cool to see Sanji utilizing the recipes that he had learned on Eva's island. And it really was an interesting kind of bit as the G5 Marines were pretty much acting like assholes towards the pirates, towards the Straw Hats, but then they're like saying we have to act like this, otherwise we're going to start liking. And it was like, it's not as clear cut as you guys would like it to believe. Law also conversing with Smoker, saying that he does actually tell Smoker where he's actually heading. It's like, interesting. Aokiji pops up at an opportune part because Doflamingo pops up after the Straw Hats and Law leave because he needs his people. Pretty much wrecking wholesale ass until Aokiji pops up and is like, Doflamingo, kick out, get the fuck out of here, asshole. And he's like, evidently, since he's left the Marines and the Navy, he's pretty much tapped more into the underground to see what was going on. Because we see Caesar throughout this whole thing attempting to get buyers for Land of the Dead and pretty much more money and patrons for what he's doing, but it's gone completely and utterly nuts. We also see that Eustace, yeah. The tarot card dude, and Apu? Scratch Man. Another long arms are forming an alliance. Luffy and Law's alliance pretty much takes up a whole thing. Law then also decides to converse with Doflamingo, pretty much showing the heads of Baby 5 and Buffalo, and pretty much saying you can get Caesar back if you resign from being a warlord and abdicate your throne for Dressrosa. And then we see that it has happened, so they decide to kind of go. We then also get, at the end, this 3 little episode thing that still nicely ties in with what's going on, where this dude pretty much is attempting to take Caesar. And, of course, Luffy, Law, and Chopper decide to go after them. But they get pretty much captured by this dude with his pet fruit. And he wants Caesar to pretty much make people into animals. Like, he doesn't understand people around him, and he wants to just control them. It's like, fuck this dude. It was a nice little story at the end. It's just like, it's really kind of weird to call it an arc, but it's a nice kind of palate cleanser as we see Luffy and Law working together very well to defeat this dude and save the Seal Dugong Kung Fu one that Luffy had worked with at Alabasta. And it was just really kind of cool as he created his own pirate crew with these Loppins and everything. And him and his crew get freed at the end, and they decide to go up as we then see our crew set up for Dressrosa, which I understand is a very big arc. It's like 109 episodes or whatnot. It's beefy. He's a big, beefy motherfucker. And with all of the collections that I've got up into this point, I've got the ability to do the Dressrosa one, the Zoo one, the Zao one, and then I've got them that goes through up to like episode 842 for Whole Cake Island. So it'll be a little bit, but I do like supporting the physical releases and kind of going through like that, because then I don't have to like wait and kind of like thunder through on certain kind of things. I'm mainly thundering through because I kind of want to get to a game, and also because it's really interesting and really just showcases what's going on with these characters. And it's really kind of cool seeing them work through their different kind of power sets since the 2-year time skip, and seeing how they approach situations. It was really kind of strange when freaking Usopp and Nami kind of worked together to get Caesar back, and Usopp like fed this thing stuff to like shoot out, and like he still had Kabuto to be able to go to a kind of bigger form and utilizing his sniping, and Luffy being like, yeah, he's the sniper, and seeing Luffy have faith in him and Usopp have faith in himself. Even though he still has those kind of weird tendencies of cowardice, he really has gotten more into his own. Same with Nami and Chopper, and the kind of ones that have more kind of doubts about themselves, about their roles in the crew. I like seeing that, and seeing them kind of overcome those from the 2 years that they've now been able to do. And this one just worked very well. I loved how everything interplayed and worked throughout. Nothing really went too far or stayed too long joke-wise. The body switching was done well enough and didn't overstay its welcome from me, where it's like, okay, how are they going to switch this out? And then right as I was about to pretty much get tired of it, they were able to kind of like switch it back out and get everybody situated. So it was like there was the funny bit where like Tashigi and Smoker had like switched bodies, and how Smoker treated Tashigi's body and everything was just like, oh god. And even Nami allowing Sanji to smoke in her body, that was interesting to kind of see those kind of little character moments going through. There's just a lot that happened that worked very well. I loved seeing everything kind of build up, and I cannot wait to see where they kind of go next with these. Like, I didn't expect after Fishman Island for us to have this kind of pivotal and important of an arc with what was kind of going on. I thought we were going to have a come down when I'm like, oh no, we've got a dude that does child experiments and everything. I'm like, that dude, fuck him. Fuck Caesar Clown. And it doesn't even go into like his laugh or anything like that. He is a horrible, horrendous person whose only goal is to pretty much be proven better than Vegapunk. And it was kind of interesting because after he's defeated and he's pretty much captured, we see that Nami works out with Tashigi. Tashigi, like, Nami was going to keep the kids and, like, take them back to their home, but Tashigi's like, please, let us fix this. There were people working in our organization to keep these kids like this. Please allow us to write this. And Nami allows them to. And they're going to take them to Vegapunk and have them kind of have him help them out. So we'll have to see how Vegapunk really is. We've seen people in a flashback working in Vegapunk's research, and how they were like, Caesar, don't be a goddamn asshole. And he's like, fuck that noise. I'm an asshole. Push the button. No, motherfucker, no. But we'll see if we eventually get to see Vegapunk as a character in here or whatnot. No spoilers, please. I'm getting there eventually. I would like to ride this one to the end as much as possible, so we'll see how this works out. I really like this, and I don't really have, except for the weird kind of stuff that's more, in my opinion, anime-based for just some weird, odd inconsistencies, I didn't have any problems with this whatsoever. Pacing, how it kind of went, how we saw different kind of characters, how we saw people react and like Monet's whole kind of demeanor towards Doflamingo, calling him young master, saying that he should be king of the pirates, pretty much getting ready to blow herself up, to blow up the island before Caesar stabbed her heart without him actually understanding that he was stabbing her heart. And him being kind of confused that, why the fuck is Smoker still alive? Kind of whole bit. But we see that there's a very strong kind of loyalty to Doflamingo. and we'll have to see how that kind of plays out with Dressrosa and other kind of characters as well. Even though Baby 5, one of his lieutenants who can transform pretty much into any weapon, is always threatening to kill him because he is killing any kind of person that she's going to marry. So at first, when she's introduced, you think, oh god, Doflamingo is a complete and utter asshole. Granted, that just because she accepts marriage proposals and Doflamingo has to clean up the mess doesn't mean he's not an asshole, okay? I'm not saying that, but you're like, what the fuck's going on with this crazy ass chick? And then you're like, oh god, she literally will accept any thing that she deems a proposal from someone. It's like, oh god. But of course she's got her powers and her uses, and that's what Doflamingo will accept the certain kind of annoyances and minimize them as much as possible. At least from what I've seen here. And I'm not going into Dressrosa at the moment. That was going to be a beefy one for itself. But this was a crazy-ass one. We get more legends for our Straw Hats, fighting a dragon, eating a dragon, getting characters from Wano, understanding Kaido is linked with that, seeing what's kind of going on with these devil fruits and the artificial ones, and how it kind of affects the whole kind of power structure and politics and control structure of the new world and what's going on and the power players there. Really fucking cool. And even though I've been liking this show and liking the stories and the characters, this one kind of clicked it for me. I'm like, man, this is top tier level world building, handling of characters, all this kind of stuff. And I never had doubted that or anything, but when you see it just executed so well and moving with all its gears like this, and then you're like, this one was the arc where I had that moment of, there we go. This is where we're kind of ramping up. So I can understand why certain arcs take a long time, because if we're going with this kind of level of world building, character building, and everything, it takes a little bit. Now, granted, that doesn't mean there's a padding in certain kind of, in the anime portion of like, we still need to wait for some chapters. We'll kind of see there, but I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I can't wait to see where we go next. So those are my opinions on the season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.